From Miami, this is your brief for Saturday, June 20th. Wildfires are burning across the west of the county, an arrest in a violent carjacking spree, and a campaign finance story with national reach. Here's the full local rundown plus the wider world. 3 wildfires have burned more than 20,000 acres across West Miami-Dade by Saturday, forcing road closures as crews push for containment ahead of long forecast rain. One blaze burned right up against Florida's turnpike, and officials shut the highway's southbound lanes. Some traffic restrictions were still in effect Saturday, according to county fire officials. The fires took hold during a stubbornly dry stretch, which is exactly what lets brush like this run. The good news for crews and for drivers is that rain expected in the coming days could finally help knock these fires down. A man is in custody after a string of armed carjackings in southwest Miami-Dade left at least 3 people hurt, the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office said. Investigators have tied the attacks to a single suspect. In a separate and unrelated case nearby, deputies detained 1 person after 2 people were found dead at a southwest Miami-Dade scene. Authorities have not released the identities of the dead or laid out a motive. 2 open investigations in the same part of the county mean residents should expect a continued law enforcement presence and more details as charges are formally filed. A contractor connected to the Alligator Alcatraz detention facility made large contributions this spring to several Miami-Dade County commissioners, according to campaign finance records reviewed by the Miami Herald. The donation surfaced just as the facility was drawing heavier scrutiny. To be clear, the Herald reported the giving without any indication that commissioners acted on the contractor's behalf. Still, the timing matters. When a company doing business tied to a controversial site is also writing checks to the officials who oversee county contracts, it raises the kind of questions watchdogs and voters tend to ask out loud. Now to what's happening around town this week. If you're up for getting your hands dirty, the MOVE Volunteer Workday kicks off today at noon out at Virginia Key's North Point. Prefer something more playful? The Balloon Museum's inflatable art experience, Pop Air, also opens at noon over at Mana Wynwood. There's a Hometown Heroes home ownership talk in Coral Gables at 1:15, a summer cool down for kids at Frost Science at 2, a cupcake decorating workshop at 3, and to wind down, open studio at the base at 4:30. Take your pick. Iran says it is closing the Strait of Hormuz, sharply escalating a standoff over the U.S. brokered accord that was meant to end the war. Iran's military accused Washington of breaching the deal's very first provision, pointing to Israel's continued presence in Lebanese territory. The declaration came as Israel and Hezbollah traded fire for a second straight day, testing whether this fragile agreement can hold. Talks between Washington and Tehran are suspended. With the memorandum in doubt and one of the world's busiest oil choke points now in play, expect markets and capitals everywhere to be watching the strait closely. In England, a train driver was killed and roughly 100 people injured in a rail crash on Friday, emergency services said. Investigators were back at the site Saturday, beginning the work of establishing what caused the collision. Of the 28 people still in hospital on Saturday, 9 were in critical condition, according to emergency officials. It's one of the more serious rail incidents Britain has seen in years, and the days ahead will turn on 2 things: the recovery of the critically injured and what investigators determine went wrong on the line. Colombians choose their next president on Sunday. In a runoff pitting Ivan Cepeda, a soft-spoken leftist senator, against Abelardo de la Espriella, a combative right-wing lawyer, Cepeda emerged as the frontrunner after years confronting a former right-wing president in court, a fight that made him, in his critics' words, a hero to the left. The 2 men offer sharply opposing visions, but they share one shadow. Each has a personal history entangled with Colombia's paramilitaries, the private armies born of a decades-long conflict that killed close to 500,000 people. Whoever wins inherits a nation still reckoning with that legacy. Cuba this week moved from approving to actually enacting a package of measures its government calls urgent, spelling out an opening to private enterprise that the Washington Post and Miami Herald describe as the island's most sweeping economic change since the 1959 revolution. Analysts call the model China-style, market liberalization kept firmly under one-party control. Reuters, reporting from Havana, found Cubans greeting the news with a mix of hope, doubt, and fatigue. The government ties the urgency to tightening U.S. sanctions and a squeeze on oil. The real test is whether loosened rules can ease shortages of fuel, food, and electricity that define daily life. Milwaukee Brewers right-hander Jacob Misiorowski threw a record 47 pitches of 101 miles an hour or faster on Friday night, topping out at 104.2, but the Brewers still fell 3-2 to the Atlanta Braves. The 24-year-old had given up just one earned run across his first 8 starts. Quote, "He was dominant, fantastic. You're going to give up runs." "You're a human," said manager Pat Murphy. The loss barely dents the story here. Misiorowski has arrived as one of the hardest throwers in the major leagues, and Friday only underlined it. And finally, some good news from the water. Researchers studying a river in the English county of Devon found that turkey tail mushrooms, a common edible bracket fungus, can filter E. coli and other sewage-borne bacteria out of contaminated water. The team says the method was put into practical use in England shortly after the results came in. The appeal is the price. Conventional sewage treatment is expensive and slow to build, while this fungus grows widely and needs almost no infrastructure. If the findings hold up elsewhere, it could give poorer regions a genuinely cheap way to clean fouled rivers. That's the brief from Miami this Saturday. Thanks for spending part of your day with us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. And if you'd like a daily rundown built just for you, the address is on your screen and in the description. Come say hello.